The new base, the transport ship, landed with a sharp hiss, dust rising into the cold alien air. The human soldier Daniel stepped out, his boots sinking slightly into the soft ground. He had been assigned to many places before, but this was different. This base was far from Earth, built on a strange planet where nothing looked familiar. The walls of the base were tall and glowing with blue lights, not metal, not stone, but some material that pulsed like it was alive. Strange alien symbols moved across the walls as if they were breathing. Daniel felt uneasy. He was a soldier, trained for combat, but this place felt like a trap waiting to close around him. Dozens of alien eyes turned toward him as he walked through the entrance. Some aliens were tall and armored, their skin like polished steel. Others were smaller, insect-like with clicking voices. They stared at Daniel not as a friend but as an outsider. He knew he did not belong here. A voice called out his name, deep and commanding. Human soldier Daniel. It was the commander, a large alien with glowing horns and a cloak of silver armor. The commander's eyes narrowed. You will serve in this unit. You will not be alone. A companion will be assigned to you. Daniel frowned. He expected another soldier, maybe an alien warrior, someone strong who could fight beside him. But the commander gestured, and from behind a glowing door came a small figure. It was a girl, not human but alien. Her skin was pale with a soft shimmer, her eyes large and glowing faintly violet. She was no taller than his chest. Her steps were careful, like she was walking into danger. She looked fragile, far too fragile for war. This, the commander said, is your companion. Daniel blinked. His voice came out sharp. You're giving me a child? The aliens around him laughed, sharp and cruel. Some muttered in their own tongue, their words sounding like mockery. Daniel's fists clenched. He wanted to shout, but the girl raised her head and looked at him, her eyes locked on his. There was no fear there, only something strange, something knowing. I am not a child, she said softly. Her voice was calm but carried weight. I am assigned to you. We must work together. Daniel stared at her, confused. She looked so small, so weak, yet there was something in her voice that made the aliens fall silent. Even if only for a moment, the commander's gaze was cold. She is more valuable than you understand. Protect her, or your mission will fail. Before Daniel could question, the commander walked away. The aliens returned to their tasks, but Daniel felt all eyes still watching him, judging him. The girl stepped closer. Her movements were quiet. She tilted her head as if studying him. You do not trust me, she whispered, not as a question but as a fact. Daniel sighed, lowering his voice. I don't even know your name. The girl looked down, her silver hair falling over her face. Then she spoke a single word. Arya. Daniel nodded slowly. All right, Arya. I guess we're partners now. She looked up, and for a moment her eyes seemed to glow brighter, like she had been waiting to hear him say those words. But even as they stood there, a shadow passed over the base. The walls pulsed darker for a brief second. Daniel noticed Arya's hands tremble. She glanced up at the ceiling, whispering something in her own language. Her face was pale, and fear flickered in her glowing eyes. What is it? Daniel asked quickly. Arya shook her head, forcing a small smile. Nothing. Just be ready, Daniel. This base is not what it seems. Daniel's chest tightened. Her words rang in his mind like a warning. He had only just arrived, and already the mission felt wrong. He looked at Arya, the strange alien girl who was now his companion, and wondered why the commander had paired them together. Somewhere deep inside, he felt it. This was no ordinary assignment. The base was hiding secrets, and Arya was the key. The companion revealed. The new base was loud at night. Machines hummed. Strange alien voices echoed through the halls, and the walls still glowed like living things. Daniel could not sleep. He sat on the small metal bed in his quarters, staring at the door. His mind replayed the moment when the commander had given him that strange assignment. Assigned a girl. He still could not believe it. What kind of mission required him to walk side by side with a fragile alien who looked barely strong enough to carry her own bag? The door slid open with a soft hiss. Daniel's hand went to his weapon out of habit, but it was only her, Arya. She stepped inside quietly, almost like a shadow. Her bare feet made no sound on the floor, her glowing violet eyes fixed on him, as if she had been watching for a long time. "You are awake," she said softly. Daniel sighed. "Can't sleep." She tilted her head, her silver hair falling like a curtain over one side of her face. "You do not trust this place, do you?" Daniel leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Should I? Everyone here stares at me like I don't belong, and then they give me you. No offense, but I don't even know what you are." For a moment, Arya stayed silent. Her fingers brushed the glowing wall, and the light shifted as if it responded to her touch. Daniel noticed it and frowned. Finally, she whispered, "I am not like the others. That is why they gave me to you. Humans do not fear me the way my people do." Daniel stared. "Fear you? Why would they fear you? You look—" He stopped himself. "You don't look dangerous." Her lips curved into the faintest smile, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who knew too much. "They fear what they cannot see," she said. "I feel life around me. The air, the ground, every heartbeat near us. That is why they mock you. They want you to think I am weak. But in truth, I am the only reason you might survive here." Daniel's chest tightened. He didn't know if he should believe her or laugh at her words, but when she stepped closer, the air in the room seemed to grow heavy. He could almost feel her strange presence pressing against him like invisible fingers brushing across his skin. "What are you doing?" he asked sharply. Her eyes glowed brighter. "Showing you. Close your eyes." Against his better judgment, Daniel obeyed. In the darkness, he suddenly felt it. Thousands of small movements, whispers of life, alien soldiers moving in the halls, insects crawling in the vents, even the heartbeat of a sleeping guard 2 rooms away. It was overwhelming, and Daniel gasped, opening his eyes. The sensation vanished instantly. Arya looked at him calmly. "Now you know." Daniel stood up, shaken. That was you? You put that in my head?" She shook her head. "No, I let you feel what I feel every moment. I cannot turn it off. That is why they fear me. That is why they gave me to you." Daniel paced the room, his fists tight. He had faced monsters, fought battles. But this was different. A fragile alien girl with the ability to sense everything alive around her? He didn't know if it was a gift or a curse. He stopped and looked at her. "Why me? Why pair you with me? A human soldier?" Arya's eyes softened, and for the first time, her voice carried something like sadness. "Because you are human. You do not know the full story of this base. You are an outsider. They think you will not question. They think you will follow orders blindly, but they do not understand humans." Daniel's jaw clenched. He knew she was right. Humans were not known for blind obedience. Before he could answer, the alarm suddenly blared through the base, red lights flashing, a voice booming in an alien tongue. Daniel grabbed his weapon, instincts sharp. "What's happening?" he shouted. Arya's eyes closed for just a second, her face tightening. Then she whispered, "An intruder." "No, not one. Many. They are inside already." Daniel froze, staring at her. "How could you know that before the alarm?" Her gaze locked on him, her voice low and certain. "Because I can feel them, Daniel. They are hunting, and they are coming this way." The door shook with a sudden heavy impact. Dust fell from the ceiling. Daniel raised his weapon, heart racing. Arya stepped in front of him, her small frame blocking the door. Her violet eyes flared like fire. She whispered one final sentence before the door burst open. First contact tension. The door of the quarters shook again, dust sprinkling from the ceiling as something pounded from the other side. Daniel tightened his grip on his rifle, his body tense. His soldier's instincts screamed that danger was coming, but what chilled him more was Arya's calm voice whispering beside him. "They are already inside," she said. "Too many for you to face alone." Daniel's eyes flicked to her small frame. Then why aren't you afraid? Her glowing violet eyes met his. Because I know where they will strike. Before he could ask more, the door burst inward. A massive alien creature stormed into the room, its body armored with jagged plates, 4 arms swinging heavy blades that glimmered under the red emergency lights. It roared, its voice shaking the walls. Daniel raised his rifle and fired. The shot cracked the air, sparks flying as the bullet glanced off its armor. The beast stumbled but didn't fall. It charged, the ground trembling beneath its weight. "Move!" Arya cried. She pulled Daniel aside with surprising strength. The monster's blade slashed where Daniel had been a second before, cutting deep into the wall. Daniel blinked at her, shocked at her speed, but she didn't stop. Her hand pressed against the wall, her eyes glowing brighter. 2 more behind him, she whispered. They are waiting in the hall. Daniel cursed under his breath. He had seen scouts, ambushes, but nothing like this. How could she sense enemies before they appeared? The beast swung again. Daniel ducked and fired point blank at its joint. This time the bullet pierced through. The monster shrieked and crashed to the ground, its heavy body shaking the floor. Breathing hard, Daniel turned to Arya. "How did you know about the others?" Her face was pale but steady. "Because I feel them moving. Every step, every heartbeat." Suddenly, 2 shadows filled the doorway. Alien raiders armed with glowing blades. They hissed in strange tongues, eyes fixed on Daniel. Daniel lifted his weapon again, but Arya stepped in front of him. Her small hands raised. The air in the room shifted, heavy and electric. The raiders froze mid-step, their bodies stiff like statues. Daniel's eyes widened. "What did you do?" Arya's voice was sharp, echoing louder than before. "I touched their fear. I showed them what hunts them in the dark." The raiders screamed, dropping their weapons, their eyes wide with terror of something Daniel could not see. They stumbled, backward and fled into the corridor, vanishing into the shadows. Daniel lowered his rifle slowly, staring at the girl. You just scared them away? Without even touching them?" Her glowing eyes dimmed slightly as she whispered, "Yes, but it takes strength. I cannot do it for long." She swayed, and Daniel caught her before she could fall. "You're burning yourself out," he said. Steadying her, she shook her head weakly. "It is better than letting you die." Daniel felt a pang of guilt. He had thought she was fragile, useless, just a burden. But now he had seen it with his own eyes. She had saved him twice in only minutes. Alarms still wailed outside, footsteps echoing through the halls. The base was under attack. Daniel's training told him to regroup, to find his unit. But something in Arya's voice held him back. "We cannot go to them," she said, clutching his sleeve. "The others, they will not protect me. They will use me, or worse, they sent me with you because they knew you were human. They thought you would not see the truth." Daniel's chest tightened. He didn't understand everything, but her fear felt real. And the way the commander had looked at her earlier, like she was just a tool, came back to him now. "Then where do we go?" he asked firmly. Arya's violet eyes met his, glowing faintly in the red lights. "Out," she said. "Into the wild. Away from these walls. Only there will we survive." Daniel hesitated. He had sworn to follow orders, but something deep inside told him she was right. The base was not safe. Not for her. Maybe not even for him. Before he could answer, a new sound filled the air. A heavy marching rhythm. Dozens of armored feet striking the ground in perfect unison. Daniel's blood ran. Cold, he knew that sound well. It was no raid, no scattered attackers. This was an army. Arya's small hand gripped his tighter. "Daniel, we must move now." The corridor lights flickered, shadows stretching long, and from the darkness ahead came a glow of red eyes. Too many to count. Daniel raised his rifle again, but his mind was racing. For the first time he realized this mission was far more dangerous than he had ever imagined, and the only ally he could trust was the fragile-looking alien girl who stood at his side. Her whisper carried through the silence, chilling and certain. "If you stay close, I will keep you alive. But if you doubt me, we will both die here." Daniel swallowed hard, his heart pounding. He nodded once. "Then lead the way, Arya." The corridors of the base shook as the enemy army moved closer, red eyes glowing like fire in the dark. Daniel followed Arya through a hidden passage she had found behind one of the glowing walls. His boots crunched on the strange floor, but her bare feet made no sound at all. "Where are we going?" Daniel whispered, his rifle tight in his hands. "Outside," Arya replied in her soft but steady voice. "The forest will hide us. The base is no longer safe." The passage twisted and turned until a final door slid open. The night air hit, Daniel's face cool and heavy with the scent of alien plants. The world outside was unlike anything he had seen before. Trees stretched high with glowing leaves, vines moved like living snakes, and strange sounds echoed in the distance. Daniel stepped out carefully, his eyes scanning the area. His soldier's training told him this place was dangerous. Too many blind spots, too many sounds he could not identify. Arya walked ahead, her silver hair glowing under the strange moonlight. Her violet eyes shimmered as she closed them for a moment. "We are not alone," she whispered. Daniel stiffened, raising his rifle. "Where?" Her eyes opened slowly. "Above us, and below." Suddenly, a shape leapt from the trees, a creature with wings sharp as blades. Daniel fired, the shot cracking through the night. The beast screeched and fell, but more moved in the shadows. Glowing eyes circling them, Daniel cursed under his breath. "We're surrounded," but Arya's voice remained calm. "No, not surrounded, tested." Daniel shot her a quick look. "Tested? By what?" Before she could answer, the ground beneath them rumbled. A massive insect-like beast emerged, its legs tearing into the soil, mandibles dripping with green liquid. It roared, shaking the trees. Daniel aimed, but Arya touched his arm. "Wait." Her glowing eyes fixed on the monster. She raised her hand slowly. The forest seemed to answer her, the vines twisting tighter around the beast's legs. The ground shook, roots snapping upward to bind the creature's body. The monster roared in fury but could not break free. Daniel lowered his weapon in shock. "You did that?" Arya's face was pale, her body trembling, but she nodded. "The forest listens to me. It does not trust humans, but it knows my kind." Daniel was speechless for a moment. His world had always been weapons, orders, and battles fought with steel. But she, this small alien girl, was fighting with the forest itself. Before he could speak, Arya stumbled, nearly collapsing. Daniel caught her, feeling how cold her skin had become. "You're draining yourself. You can't keep this up." She shook her head, whispering, "I must, or we will not survive." Daniel looked at her fragile body and felt anger rise in him, not at her, but at the commander who had forced her into this. She was powerful, yes, but she was also breaking herself just to keep them alive. As the vines tightened around the beast, Arya turned her face toward him, her voice soft. "This is why they assigned me to you, Daniel. They knew you would protect me, even against your own kind." Daniel frowned. "What are you saying?" But she said no more. Her eyes fluttered, and she leaned against him, exhausted. The forest grew quiet again, the glowing creatures fading back into the shadows. For now, the danger had passed. But Daniel knew it would not last. He carried Arya carefully and found a small clearing surrounded by tall plants. Their glowing leaves lit the space with a faint blue light. He laid her down gently, his eyes scanning the tree line. When she finally spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. "This mission, it is not just yours, it is mine too. We are bound now. If you fall, I fall. If I fall, you fall." Daniel's chest tightened. Her words were heavy, almost like a vow. He had never been bound to anyone like this before, not even his squad. "Why, me?" he asked softly, almost to himself. "Why not another alien soldier?" Her violet eyes opened slowly, glowing in the moonlight. She whispered a single word that shook him to his core. "Because you are human," she said. "And humans do not give up." Daniel swallowed hard, staring into her glowing eyes. He wanted to deny it, to question everything, but deep inside he knew she was right. Before he could speak, a distant roar echoed through the forest, louder than before. The ground shook again, this time with many heavy steps approaching. Arya's eyes widened, fear flashing for the first time. She grabbed his hand tightly. "Daniel, they are coming, and this time I cannot stop them alone." Daniel raised his rifle, his soldier's instincts flaring to life. He looked at her fragile but determined face and nodded firmly. "Then we fight together," he said. The forest trembled. As the red eyes closed in from every direction, the sound of claws scratching bark and heavy bodies pushing through the vines made Daniel's grip tighten on his rifle. He had fought in wars before, but this was different. These enemies were not men with guns, they were predators born from the wild. Arya stood beside him, her small frame glowing faintly in the strange blue light of the trees. Her hand gripped his sleeve, her violet eyes sharp but filled with exhaustion. "They know I am here," she whispered. "That is why they hunt. They will not stop until I am gone," Daniel frowned. "Gone? You mean dead?" She did not answer, only lowered her head. That silence told him enough, his jaw clenched. He was not going to let that happen. Not while he was still breathing. The first beast leapt from the shadows, its jaws wide with rows of teeth that gleamed. In the moonlight, Daniel fired, the shot echoing through the forest. The creature collapsed with a screech, but more followed. Arya closed her eyes, whispering words in her alien tongue. The ground pulsed under them like a heartbeat. Vines twisted and shot upward, wrapping around two of the creatures, snapping tight until their bones cracked. Daniel froze for a moment, watching in shock. Her power wasn't just sensing life. It was controlling it, bending it to her will. "Arya," he breathed. "What are you?" Her glowing eyes opened, and for the first time, Daniel saw something fierce inside them. Something far older than her fragile body. She raised her small hand toward the beasts, and the forest obeyed. Branches bent like spears, piercing one attacker through the chest. Daniel had seen tanks destroy buildings, missiles flatten cities, but never had he seen nature itself rise like an army at the command of one girl. But the effort was draining her. Her breaths grew shallow, her face pale. Daniel rushed to her side, firing his rifle at another charging beast. "Stop pushing yourself. You'll burn out." She shook her head, her voice trembling. "If I stop, you die. If you die, I'm alone." Her words hit him harder than the enemy's roar. He fired again and again, covering her, but inside he knew she was fighting something bigger than monsters. She was fighting herself. The ground split open as more enemies poured out, smaller ones with glowing claws and screeching cries. Daniel reloaded fast, his soldier's instincts in overdrive. He fought like a machine, but even he could see they were being overrun. Arya suddenly screamed, her voice echoing like a bell through the forest. Every creature froze for a heartbeat. Even Daniel felt it in his bones. The glowing plants around them flared brighter. The air itself felt heavy. Daniel turned to her and saw it, her true power. Her small body glowed with light, her violet eyes burning like fire. Her voice was no longer soft but thunderous as she spoke in her alien tongue. The beasts whimpered, backing away. Some collapsed, shaking violently as if invisible hands crushed their minds. Daniel's heart pounded. He lowered his rifle slowly, watching her. "Arya, what are you doing to them?" Her glowing eyes flicked to him for just a moment, and he swore he saw pain there. "I am showing them their end," she whispered. One by one, the creatures fled, vanishing into the darkness of the forest. Their red eyes faded until only silence remained. Daniel stood still, breathing hard, sweat on his forehead. He had seen victories before, but never like this. Arya swayed on her feet, her light dimming. He rushed forward and caught her before she could fall. Her body was trembling, cold and weak. "Easy," he whispered, lowering her gently. "You saved us, but you nearly killed yourself doing it." Her lips trembled, her voice faint. "This is why they fear me, Daniel. Not because I am weak, but because when I use my gift, I lose a part of myself." Daniel's chest tightened. He looked at her fragile form in his arms and felt anger rise inside him, not at her, but at the ones who treated her like a tool, a weapon to be used until she broke. "You're not a tool," he said firmly. "You're not their weapon, you're my partner, and as long as I'm here, I won't let them use you." Arya's eyes fluttered open, glowing faintly. For a moment, a soft smile touched her lips. "You sound so certain, like a warrior who fights not for orders but for someone he chooses." Daniel gave a small, tired laugh. Maybe I am. But before either of them could say more, the ground rumbled again. This time it wasn't creatures. It was the base. Something massive was moving in the distance. Lights flared in the night sky, ships rising, alarms echoing faintly even this far into the forest. Arya's eyes widened in fear. She grabbed his hand tightly. They're coming for us, Daniel. Not just the beast, not just the wild, but your own commanders. Daniel froze, his breath caught in his chest. He thought back to the way the commander had looked at Arya, the way the other aliens had laughed. The truth settled in him like a blade. This mission wasn't about survival. It was about control. He tightened his grip on his rifle and on her hand, his jaw set. Then let them come, he said, his voice steady. If they want you, they'll have to go through me first. Arya's violet eyes glimmered with something new, not just fear, but hope. In the distance, the forest roared again. But this time it wasn't the beasts. It was the sound of war marching toward them. The forest still echoed with distant alarms, faint red lights glowing above the tree line where the alien base stood. Daniel kept moving through the thick vines, carrying Arya on his back. Her body felt too light, too fragile, as if the power she had used had drained the life from her. Hold on, he muttered, his boots sinking in the damp ground. I'm getting you back to safety. Arya's voice was faint, almost like a whisper in the wind. Safety. Daniel. The base is not safety, it is a cage. Daniel tightened his jaw, ignoring the ache in his muscles. Maybe, but I can't treat you in the middle of a forest. You need rest, food, something. Her hand weakly clutched his shoulder. If we return, they will take me from you. He glanced back at her, meeting her glowing violet eyes. Not if I have anything to say about it. The journey back felt long, but finally the glowing walls of the base rose before them, towering and alive. Daniel walked through a hidden entrance, and soon guards in alien armor spotted him. They rushed forward, their sharp voices filling the air. The human has returned. The companion is alive. Daniel set Arya gently on her feet. Though she swayed against him, the commander appeared, his silver armor shining. His glowing horns gave him a terrible presence. His voice was heavy with false calm. Human soldier, he said, you have done well. You brought her back. Daniel's stomach twisted. The way the commander's eyes lingered on Arya. It wasn't relief. It was hunger, calculation, as if she were an object, not a living being. Arya stepped closer to Daniel, clutching his sleeve like a frightened child. Her whisper reached only his ear. Don't let go. The commander's gaze sharpened. Release her, he ordered. She is not yours. She belongs to us. Daniel shook his head slowly, his voice steady. She's not a thing you can own. A ripple of laughter came from the guards, sharp and cruel, but the commander did not laugh. His eyes glowed brighter, his voice turning colder. You misunderstand, human. She was never your partner. She was an experiment, an asset. You were sent with her only as a shield, a tool to make her believe she had protection. Daniel felt the ground drop beneath his feet. His fists tightened. You used me, he said through clenched teeth. The commander's lips curved in a thin smile. You are useful only for your loyalty. Humans cling to bonds. It made you easy to manipulate. Now, step aside. Arya's body trembled. She hid her face against Daniel's arm, whispering, Please don't let them take me. If they do, I will never be free again. Daniel's heart pounded, rage boiling in his chest. He had always followed orders, always trusted the chain of command. But here now, he saw the truth. This wasn't a mission. It was betrayal. He raised his rifle, pointing it directly at the commander. Gasps filled the hall. The guards froze. No one had expected the human soldier to turn his weapon on his own leaders. Daniel's voice thundered. She's not leaving my side. If you want her, you'll have to take her from me. The commander's smile faded into a glare. His voice roared like thunder. You would betray the base? Betray your mission? Daniel's grip tightened, his eyes burning with resolve. No, Commander. You betrayed me the moment you treated her like property. I protect my partner. That is my mission now. The hall fell silent. Only the hum of the glowing walls surrounding them. Then the commander raised his hand, and dozens of armored guards stepped forward, weapons drawn. Arya's hand squeezed Daniel's tightly. Her violet eyes burned with fear, but also with something else. Trust. She whispered quickly. Daniel, if they take me, I will lose myself. But if you stand with me, we can escape. I can get us out. Daniel's eyes flicked between the commander and the circle of soldiers closing in. His breath was heavy, his heart racing. But his choice had already been made. He leaned close to her ear and whispered, Then, we're leaving. Arya's eyes widened, glowing brighter. She raised her hand slowly and the walls around them shivered. The glowing symbols across the surface began to twist and break. The entire base groaned as if it were alive and in pain. The commander roared, Stop her! Kill the human if you must. The guards rushed forward, weapons gleaming. Daniel opened fire, his shots cracking the air. Aliens fell, but more pressed in. The hall became chaos. Screams, gunfire, the pulsing of the living walls. Arya's voice rang above it all, chanting words Daniel did not understand. Her small body glowed like a beacon. Her power surged through the base, lights exploding, floors cracking. Daniel covered her, shielding her from attacks, firing until his rifle was nearly empty. His muscles burned, his breath ragged, but he would not fall, not while she still fought. The commander roared again, charging forward, his massive frame towering over Daniel. His blade struck down, sparks flying as Daniel barely blocked with the edge of his rifle. Human fool. The commander snarled. You think you can defy us? She is ours. Daniel shoved back with all his strength, his voice fierce. She's mine only because she chose me and I chose her. That's something you'll never understand. In that moment, the floor beneath them split wide open, energy bursting upward. The commander staggered back as the living walls tore apart. Arya's voice echoed like thunder, her eyes blazing. We are leaving. The choice Daniel hit the ground hard, the air knocked out of his chest. He rolled over quickly, clutching Arya close. They had fallen through a tunnel of pure light, and now they lay in a cavern deep below the alien base. The cavern glowed faintly, rivers of blue energy flowing through cracks in the stone. The air buzzed with power, alive and heavy. Daniel pulled himself up. Scanning the strange place, his rifle was nearly empty, but his instincts stayed sharp. Arya slowly opened her glowing violet eyes. Her voice was soft but steady. This is the heart of the planet, the power they tried to control. That is why they wanted me, Daniel. I am the key. Daniel frowned. The key to what? Her hands trembled as she pointed to the glowing rivers around them. This place responds to life, to will. I was born with the gift to connect to it. That is why they chained me, trained me, wanted me to obey. But with you, I am free. Daniel's chest tightened. He had seen soldiers fight for honor, for money, for survival. But this girl was fighting for something far deeper, her freedom, her very soul. Before he could answer, the cavern shook violently. The commander's roar echoed from above. His armored figure appeared through the broken wall, glowing horns blazing. You cannot escape me, human. She belongs to us. Dozens of soldiers dropped in behind him, weapons drawn. Their shadows filled the cavern, cutting off every exit. Arya grabbed Daniel's hand, her voice trembling. Daniel, if they take me, the base will chain my power forever. They will use me until nothing of me remains. If you want to save me, you must choose now. Daniel's mind raced. His orders were gone, his mission shattered. He had two choices: surrender Arya to save himself, or fight against an entire army to protect her. The commander stepped forward, his voice cold. Think carefully, human. Your kind are fragile. You will die here for nothing. Give her to us, and you will live. Daniel raised his rifle, his jaw clenched. Living without honor isn't living at all, the commander snarled. Lifting his massive blade, the soldiers aimed their weapons. The cavern rumbled again as if the planet itself waited for Daniel's choice. Arya looked at him, her violet eyes shimmering with fear and hope. Daniel, What do you choose? Daniel took a deep breath, his voice firm. I choose you. The cavern exploded with light. The rivers of energy surged, climbing up the walls, wrapping around Arya like living threads. She gasped, her body glowing brighter than ever before. Her voice echoed, not just in the cavern but in Daniel's mind. You gave me freedom. Now I will give us both survival. The ground split apart, waves of energy rushing outward. The soldiers screamed as the force tore through them, their weapons shattered, their bodies thrown into the walls. The commander roared, pushing forward with his blade, but even he struggled against the rising storm. Daniel shielded his eyes, the light burning. Arya floated above the cavern floor, her small frame surrounded by raw power. She raised her hand toward the commander, her voice sharp as steel. You will not own me again. The commander charged, but the ground itself rose against him. Massive pillar of stone and energy struck, throwing him back into the darkness. His roar faded as the cavern sealed shut around him. Silence followed, broken only by the hum of the glowing rivers. Daniel looked up at Arya, still shining with light. Her body slowly lowered back down, and he rushed to catch her before she collapsed. She was trembling, her voice weak. I used too much. I cannot hold it for long. Daniel pulled her close, his arms tight around her. You don't have to, Arya. You've already done enough. She smiled faintly, her violet eyes soft. You chose me, when no one else ever did. Daniel looked into her eyes and spoke firmly. Because you're not a weapon, you're my partner, and I'll keep choosing you no matter what. The cavern's glow softened, the rivers calming as if satisfied. The danger had passed. For now, Daniel carried Arya toward a narrow tunnel that led out into the night. The forest waited, dangerous but free. The base behind them had fallen silent. As the stars stretched above, Daniel realized something. He had come to this planet as a soldier following orders, but he was leaving as something else, not a tool, not a pawn, but a man who had made his own choice. Beside him, Arya whispered, her head resting against his shoulder. Where will we go now? Daniel looked out at the endless alien horizon, his grip firm on his weapon and on her hand. Anywhere but back, Arya, from now on. We make our own mission. The wind rushed through the glowing forest, carrying their steps into the unknown. A human soldier and an alien girl, hunted by enemies, bound by trust, and stronger together than either had ever been alone. And though the future was uncertain, one truth burned clear in Daniel's heart. He would never let her go,